Love is one of the most powerful, beautiful, and confusing forces in human life. We crave it, we chase it, we write songs and poems about it. But very few people truly understand what makes one person fall in love with another. Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of analytical psychology, believed that love is not just a romantic feeling. It's a mirror, a symbol, a reflection of something much deeper within us. According to Jung, people fall in love not purely because of how someone looks, speaks, or behaves, but because that person awakens something unconscious within them. Jung believed that every individual carries within them an internal image of the ideal partner. He called this image the Anima in men and the Animus in women. These are unconscious representations of the opposite sex, formed from our earliest relationships and buried deep in the psyche. When we meet someone who reflects this unconscious image back to us, someone who, unknowingly, matches the qualities of our anima or animus, we experience an intense emotional charge. It feels magical. We say things like, "I feel like I've known them forever," or "we just clicked instantly." But what's actually happening is psychological projection. The person is not necessarily who we think they are. We're projecting our inner ideal onto them. This is the first reason why people fall in love, not with the person in front of them, but with the version of themselves that person reflects back. In essence, falling in love often means falling into projection. It's not about who the other person truly is, but about who they allow us to be. They unlock something dormant in us, something we didn't even know we were missing. Jung called this a union of opposites. It's as if two halves of a soul recognize each other, not because they are truly compatible on the surface, but because their unconscious wounds and longings align. This projection can feel blissful at first. It's intoxicating. It feels like destiny. But Jung warned that such projection-based love is not sustainable in the long run, unless both individuals become conscious of what's truly happening. Without that awareness, the illusion will eventually break and disillusionment will follow. You'll wake up one day and think they've changed. But they haven't. You're simply seeing them clearly for the first time. So the first reason people fall in love with you is because you unknowingly fit their unconscious ideal. You match their hidden image of love, formed by childhood, culture, and soul memory. You become the screen for their inner film, the one they've been playing in their minds since they were young. This is why some people become instantly attached to you without even knowing why. It's not about who you are. It's about who you are to them. But this brings us to the second reason, far more rare, far more profound. Some people don't fall in love with you because you reflect their unconscious. They fall in love with you because you awaken them. You trigger a spiritual evolution. And that's what we'll explore next. Unlike the first type of love, which is based on unconscious projection, the second reason someone falls in love with you is far rarer and far more transformative. This love doesn't come from a place of longing or illusion. It doesn't ask you to play a role or fulfill a fantasy. Instead, it asks you to evolve, to become. This is the love that awakens your soul. Carl Jung believed that real psychological and spiritual growth occurs when we confront the unknown parts of ourselves, the shadow, the unconscious patterns, the dormant archetypes. And sometimes, a person enters your life who doesn't reflect your ideal self, but instead challenges it. They don't reinforce who you think you are. They invite you to discover who you truly are underneath all the layers. This kind of connection is not always comfortable. In fact, it often begins with friction. You feel exposed, seen, triggered. You might even resist it at first. But something deeper inside you recognizes the significance of the encounter. This person touches your soul, not by fulfilling a fantasy, but by disrupting your illusions. They awaken you to a greater version of yourself. This is the second reason someone may fall in love with you. Not because you complete their dream, but because you disturb it. You break the spell. You open a new dimension of awareness in them. And that act of awakening is unforgettable. Because once someone has tasted their own depth through your presence, they cannot unsee it. You become the catalyst for their transformation. Jung often said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This kind of transformative love is not about dependency or possession. It's about mutual evolution. It's about recognizing that the other person is not here to save you, but to help you remember who you are. In this type of relationship, love is not blind. On the contrary, it sees everything, the light and the shadow, the beauty and the brokenness. And it loves not despite those things, but through them. This love does not demand perfection. It invites authenticity. You might notice that people who fall in love with you in this way often describe the experience as life-changing. They might say things like, "You made me see myself differently," or, "I've never been the same since I met you." That's because this kind of love rewires the soul. It awakens dormant aspects of a person's psyche and pushes them toward greater wholeness. This second type of love is rare because it requires a certain level of inner work. You can't awaken someone else unless you've already begun to awaken yourself. That's why people who carry a deep presence, those who have done their shadow work, who live with intention and authenticity, tend to have this strange effect on others. They become mirrors of truth. Not the truth we want to hear, but the truth we need to hear. And when someone encounters that truth in you, they don't just fall in love with who you are. They fall in love with who they are becoming through you. You don't just give them comfort. You give them transformation. So, in the eyes of Jungian psychology, these are the two reasons someone might fall in love with you. One is unconscious, based on projection, fantasy, and unresolved inner images. The other is conscious, based on growth, self-awareness, and awakening. But here's the real question. Which type of love are you attracting? When we speak about conscious love, we are entering more challenging terrain, where projection loses its power and true connection begins to emerge. Love born from awareness does not depend on idealization, but on a clear, undistorted vision of the person we are in relationship with. This is the crucial difference between superficial love, based on fantasies and expectations, and deep love, which is built on mutual acceptance and understanding. Unconscious projection can be thrilling and overwhelming, but at the same time, it's a trap. When we fall in love with an idealized image of someone, we create a relationship of dependency, where we need the other person to play a specific role in order to satisfy our inner needs. However, once that projection begins to crumble, and it inevitably does, the relationship faces a crisis. The person we loved becomes unrecognizable, no longer fitting the image we had constructed, and suddenly, we are confronted with the raw truth of who they really are. The illusion is shattered. This is why many relationships fail, not because the people involved don't love each other, but because one person doesn't allow themselves to see the other as they truly are. Instead of embracing their partner's full humanity, we often try to mold them into a version that fits our desires, hopes, or wounds. This leads to unmet expectations, disappointments, and, eventually, disillusionment. The person we loved is no longer the person we want, and we are left questioning the very foundation of the relationship. But this is where conscious love steps in. Conscious love is not about pretending that we don't see the flaws in the other person. It's not about trying to fix them or change them. It's about accepting them fully, as they are, with all of their light and shadow. Conscious love sees the other person in their entirety, not just the parts that are easy to love. It recognizes that, like us, they are both imperfect and divine, wounded and whole, flawed and beautiful. This is a love that grows from truth, not fantasy. Carl Jung often spoke about the importance of integrating the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves that we hide from others and often from ourselves. True love, according to Jung, is a journey of integration where both partners help each other confront and embrace their shadows. It's not about idealizing or projecting an image onto the other person. It's about recognizing them as a mirror that reflects back not only their light, but their darkness as well. And in doing so, we are invited to look more deeply at our own unconscious material, our own fears, insecurities, and unresolved wounds. In a conscious relationship, the love between two people does not seek to avoid conflict or discomfort. On the contrary, it embraces these challenges as opportunities for growth. Conscious love requires vulnerability because it asks us to be seen in our truest form, not just our best side, but also our most vulnerable, imperfect, and raw parts. It is only by facing our deepest fears and desires that we can move beyond surface-level connection into something far more meaningful. This kind of love doesn't settle for comfort. It challenges both partners to become more aware of themselves and each other. It requires that we confront not only the aspects of ourselves that we like, but also those that we would prefer to keep hidden. It's about being truly seen by the other and by ourselves, and still choosing to love, not in spite of our flaws, but because of them. But how does this look in practical terms? In a conscious relationship, when one person does something that triggers the other, it's not an excuse to blame, fight, or withdraw. Instead, it's an invitation to examine what the trigger reveals about the deeper issues within both individuals. Rather than projecting our own unresolved material onto the other, we become curious about what is being mirrored to us. What does this situation reveal about our fears, our unmet needs, our unresolved childhood wounds? And how can we use this moment to grow, heal, and deepen our understanding of ourselves and our partner? This process is not always easy. It's often uncomfortable. It requires emotional maturity, self-awareness, and a willingness to face difficult truths. But when both partners are committed to this level of honesty and growth, the relationship becomes a powerful catalyst for personal and mutual transformation. It is no longer about avoiding pain or seeking comfort. It is about the shared journey of becoming whole. This is why conscious love is so rare. It's easy to fall into the trap of unconscious projection, where the other person serves as a mirror to our idealized image, and it's tempting to cling to that illusion for as long as possible. But true love, Jungian love, requires that we let go of the fantasy and embrace reality. It asks us to see each other, not just with our eyes, but with our souls. And this is the beauty of conscious love. It allows us to evolve. It's not about finding someone who fits a perfect mold or meets all of our needs. It's about finding someone who challenges us, who awakens us, and who helps us grow into the fullest expression of ourselves. It's the love that leads to integration, not just of the other, but of ourselves as well. Through this kind of love, we begin to integrate the shadow, heal old wounds, and move closer to our true selves. So, when we look at the love we experience in our lives, it's important to ask ourselves, is this love based on an idealization, or is it based on a conscious acceptance of each other's full humanity? Are we loving each other through the illusions of projection, or are we loving each other through the reality of who we truly are? In the end, the love that Carl Jung describes is not about avoiding pain or discomfort. It's about integration, the conscious merging of all aspects of ourselves. True love, according to Jung, is not just about feeling blissful or happy in the moment. It's about the transformative power of healing. It's about facing our deepest wounds and fears and learning to love ourselves through them. This is the kind of love that heals, because it invites us to stop hiding behind masks or personas. It calls us to show up authentically, to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and to trust that our partner will love us, not despite our flaws, but because of them. Jung believed that when two people come together in a conscious relationship, they begin a process of integration, not just with each other, but with themselves. They help each other heal the parts of themselves that have been ignored, neglected, or rejected. The beauty of this process is that, through love, we become more whole. We don't stay stuck in the same cycles of pain or confusion. We transcend our old patterns and step into a new way of being, one that is more authentic, more aligned with our true selves. And this, Jung believed, is the real purpose of love, to help each other become the best, most complete versions of ourselves. It's important to note that this doesn't happen overnight. Love, in its deepest and most healing form, is a lifelong journey. It requires time, patience, and a willingness to be challenged. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. The relationships that offer the potential for this kind of transformation are rare, and they are the ones that stand the test of time. Jung emphasized that love, when it is conscious and integrated, has the power to heal not just the individuals involved, but their entire relationship. The couple becomes a unit, not because they are perfect or flawless, but because they have faced their shadows together. They have allowed themselves to be fully seen, and in doing so, they have created a space where both people can thrive. The love that emerges from this place is not a love that is based on neediness or dependency, but one that is based on mutual growth and understanding. Through this process of integration, we learn to embrace our true selves, and in doing so, we allow our partner to do the same. We stop trying to change each other and start accepting each other as we are. But more than that, we recognize that the challenges we face together are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. Every conflict, every disagreement, every difficult moment is a chance to dive deeper into ourselves and each other. This is the type of love that Carl Jung believed was the most profound, the love that integrates, heals, and transforms. It's not the love that is fleeting or based on fantasy. It's the love that is rooted in the reality of who we are, and it's the love that helps us grow into the fullest versions of ourselves. When we fall in love with someone who triggers our growth, who awakens us to a higher version of ourselves, we are participating in a journey of profound self-discovery. We are learning to love not just the other person, but the version of ourselves that we are becoming. In doing so, we are creating a love that is not dependent on external circumstances or superficial attractions. Instead, it is a love that is built on a deep, unshakable foundation of mutual understanding, respect, and growth. So, as you reflect on your own relationships, ask yourself, what kind of love am I cultivating? Is it a love based on projection and idealization, or is it a love that is rooted in acceptance, authenticity, and transformation? Are you ready to embrace the kind of love that heals, integrates, and allows both you and your partner to evolve into the best versions of yourselves? This is the true power of love, the love that Carl Jung believed in, the love that transcends fantasy and brings us closer to who we really are, the love that heals, transforms, and ultimately frees us.